Hello again, and welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
And brought to you by the good graces of Manhattan Neighborhood Network and EVT Educational Productions. Once again, Into the Breach. We are pre-taping. This happens to be the Wednesday before our Monday airing, and it's actually the Wednesday before Thanksgiving Day, guys.
Yes,
so
the day before.
It may be a slow news week, and then again, it may not.
Right.
So we'll target what may or may not still be lingering in the news. I know for sure the whole bit about our president saying it was okay for the Saudis to kill a U.S. resident journalist, and he's not going to give up any arms sales as a result of that. That'll be floating around. What else you guys think will still be floating around?
I mean, he's been insulting people left and right, including that California congressman who he misspelled Schiff. And he misspelled the last name so that it sounded like a four-letter word.
Adam Schiff became Adam Schitt.
Exactly,
Okay.
in a tweet. Which, and I mean, you wait for the tweets to bottom out, and they just don't bottom out.
No, I know they don't. The other thing, well, the Ivanka Trump's use of private email is still going to be around, I would suspect, as well.
Okay, I know it was very interesting. I saw an amazing headline that I believe was either a Reuters roundup or a Yahoo Lifestyle roundup, but it said something to the effect that Navy SEAL who captures bin Laden, bad. Saudis killing journalists, U.S. resident journalists, A-OK, according to the President of the United States of America. And that pretty much gets to the heart of what I see is and I know it was a satirical headline meant to drive home the point that we seem to have lost our moral compass as standing up for what's good, right, and just across the globe. I remember it used to be, what was Superman? Truth, justice, and the American way, whatever that line was.
Yeah, sure.
Well, truth, justice, and the
way.
American way now is, okay, kill a journalist all you want, and yeah, we don't like our heroes who capture the bad guys because of the guy that's sitting in the White House. So, talk a little bit about the reasoning behind why the president said he was going to think it was okay to not condemn the Saudis or do something drastic to make them pay for killing this journalist.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Ray.
No, I was going to say, well, there's an arms sale that, of course, he wants to go through. But I saw something, I didn't read it, I was on my way here, about the prince saying something about having bailed Trump out financially a couple of times. Have either of you seen anything about that? I mean, if that's true,
That's really, yeah.
you know, then we know where his allegiance is and why.
There have been a number of stories about the fact that he was bailed out by Saudis, taking up residences in his
And
real
his
estate
hotels
properties and
yeah.
booking time in his new hotel in Washington, D.C. And so those are stories that have already been out there per se that, yeah, he may not have any, quote, business in Saudi Arabia, but the Saudis are funneling tons of dollars into his properties.
Into his interests.
Well, yeah, and
so.
before he started to run, he had 5 shell companies registered in Saudi Arabia, which disappeared as soon as he started to run. But you know, it seems to me that he was planning on doing business there one way or another, and may still be doing business there subversively.
Well,
Who knows?
the historical point to drive that point home is the first foreign trip he made as president wasn't to one of our longtime allies like France, Britain, or anybody. It was to Saudi Arabia.
Interesting.
Yeah,
didn't.
the very first
don't recall
international trip
Really?
that he took was to Saudi Arabia. And back then, people were predicating it on the fact, or speculating about the fact that why would he pick them? Well, guess what? There's a history of him doing all kinds of deals and a history of them bailing him out of stuff by putting money into his properties. And so he might be trying to shore up that alliance. The alliance that he may be having uppermost in his mind, and I say this in not jest, but in high speculation, is not so much the arms sale that he wants to safeguard, but his own personal private empire that he's been trying to build with the Saudis all these years.
And that's what bothers me, because he's so hesitant to say anything bad about what happened to Khashoggi. First, he just took the prince's word at face value when the prince said, "Well, I don't know anything about this. I don't know what went on here." And even at this point, where we know that it was a murder, where we know that there were bone saws ready, and we know that the body was carried out in pieces, I mean, even after all of that, he has nothing bad to say about the Saudis, and it's just incredible. But he'll lay into journalists at any time.
Well, he does that domestically as well.
Right.
Good people on both sides.
Yes.
was one of the famous quotes, I think.
And
here it was, well, in terms of the prince knowing about Khashoggi's murder, he may have known and he may not have known.
But the CIA is apparently has.
I know.
Yes.
The CIA has point by point.
They've connected the dots.
They've connected the dots, and they've all but produced the perpetrators.
Yes.
And he's denying his own intelligence community's reports.
Yeah.
He's undermining them as the same as he does with the press. Anybody that doesn't agree with him,
doesn't reach the same conclusion.
It's phony news. They don't know what they're talking about. It's wrong.
The interesting thing about it is the CIA's assessment, which, as you said, connected the dots, made their well-constructed assessment, was the Crown Prince is involved in this murder. And they had the report, and because they had made that assessment and sent it to the White House, somebody somewhere within that, we've written it, we're sending it over, decided that they knew exactly what Trump's reaction was going to be, which we saw what the reaction was.
Sure.
That report was leaked 2 days before. And so the New York Times had a headline saying, CIA says Crown Prince behind killing. 2 days before, this guy comes out and tweets that, well, the Crown Prince might be involved or he might not.
Right.
Now, 2 days after the CIA says this guy definitely involved.
Sure.
Your president, folks, I don't claim him, your president says Crown Prince might be involved, might not be involved. Well, somebody made sure that the CIA's report was leaked so that his obfuscation was already undermined by the time he was doing his obfuscation. So there are people who are not happy.
And who care about getting the truth out.
It's just unbelievable that our president would say it's okay for another autocratic government. Yeah, and I say another autocratic government. I'm being subconscious here.
Well, actually,
but that's what this guy's trying to become. It's okay to be killing journalists. I saw a report where one of either CNN or MSNBC had one of these foreign policy analysis people saying, look, what kind of signal does this send? Does that mean, he said, oh no, it's just carte blanche. I mean, people, they're already killing journalists across the globe. We had a report that I don't know if we went into it on our last show, we were talking about the high incidence of journalists being killed around the globe. There was a report that just talked about the increased number. Well, my contention is the increased number of journalists being killed around the globe is a direct correlation to Donald Trump calling journalists the enemy of the people here in our country. So all these other autocrats say, oh hell, we don't have any policemen looking over our shoulder anymore, because the U.S. used to try to say to people, it's bad to kill journalists. It's bad to imprison journalists. It's bad to do things to the Fourth Estate, because that's what makes for a free government, free press, makes for a more democratic government if that's what you're trying to become. Well, we don't have that anymore.
And we get some of our information from Democracy Now! Now and then, and they had the editor of this site called The Rappler in the Philippines, where people getting killed right and left by the strongman, Duterte.
Duterte.
Yeah, and her site which is Rappler, Rappler.com. They're trying to shut it down. They've threatened journalists. She just got an award here in this country for the website and for the work they've done to uncover the horrible things that the government has perpetrated. And now and all of her reporters are in danger, of course, as soon as they get back to the Philippines. And on the show, they raised that very point, that between that autocrat, that strong man between Trump, between people in who's the guy in South America, but all over the world, journalists are being lowered to the point where people think it's okay to to attack them, and that's a bad state of journalism right now.
Oh, yeah. It's been happening in Mexico, though, with the drug cartel for decades. They've been killing journalists down there. And I guess it's okay everywhere.
That headline that I paraphrased actually came from an Esquire story, and this is the key quote, backing up what you just said. This is positively a bat signal to repressive regimes all over the world that it's open season on Americans or on American residents whom these regimes find troublesome.
Right.
This especially includes journalists, which hits it a little close to home. Okay? So yeah, we understand working in this business can be dangerous. I mean, those journalists in Mexico, long before Khashoggi got killed, they've been racking up a total of people being slain by the drug cartels in Mexico. And guess what? They were never held account because half the time the Mexican federales were in cahoots with the drug cartels. And so the fact that we got a guy in the White House who says, yeah, it's okay, don't worry about it. You do whatever you feel like. I mean, this is open season, for real. So
I do have to give kudos to the international press who uncovered a lot of what happened to Khashoggi, who did it wasn't just, we think we get arrogant about American journalism. There are great journalists around the world who do good work.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you there's an interesting way that I look at that story. And initially I was a little torn because you understand that the day after this happened, the Turkish government told the U.S., this guy just got murdered in this embassy. And then the Turkish government, this is the president of Turkey, he had his people drip by drip say, this is how it happened. This is what went down. Now, the press is under fire in Turkey. Okay?
Yes.
So for that stuff to come out,
exactly,
it's because the Turkish president, what's his name?
Erdegan.
Wanted that Saudi prince held accountable. And so he just leaked this stuff, drip by drip, bit by bit. And then, coup de grace, he says to the CIA, come over here so you can listen to this audio recording that we have. Okay? So then the word got out. Headline, there is an audio recording of this man being killed in that embassy. That blew the entire Trump party line. Oh, we don't know what's going on. We're studying it. We're doing X, Y, and Z. So, you got a right-wing, autocratic Erdegan saying, saying a journalist just got killed in one of our embassies.
Come and take a look.
Even for him, it was below where he could go. I mean, it was like, we can't. I can't take it.
And here we are.
But Eric's right. It could have been that he just wanted to expose.
He wanted to go after the Saudis.
I don't see him as a friend of journalism.
There's no altruism there. I don't think.
No. This time it was friend of my enemy.
Right. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
There you go. That's the deal. So it's just. But anyway, we spent more than enough on that particular story because there's another story you guys were talking about, Ray. It was how same president of the United States, folks, who doesn't mind other people killing journalists and American citizens or residents of the U.S. Who work for U.S. publications. He doesn't care if they get killed.
That's a shame.
This whole bit about trying to turn this into an autocratic third world, folks in the media have been calling banana republic style leader. What's your thing on that latest headline? The New York Times broke this story. Story about your president wanting
to prosecute Comey and
Hillary Clinton.
And Hillary Clinton. Yeah.
Good.
Well,
good.
The only thing I know about it is that the then White House lawyer McGahan, or McGahan, I'm not sure how he pronounces his last name.
Don McGahan.
It advised him against it. It said it would look.
Well, what's the actual story per se? Because he wanted
to prosecute Comey for allegedly leaking secrets,
and he wanted to prosecute
Hillary for her emails.
Oh, that's all. There could be a shopping list. Right, so here.
Let me see if I can find that.
The interesting thing that I thought was quite amazing was the fact that he didn't ask that they be investigated.
No, he asked that they be prosecuted.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay,
right.
And so he wanted his Justice Department, because he's under the impression that the Justice Department is his personal police force,
Right.
not the police, the Judiciary Justice Department for the country. It's his personal police force.
He's looking at how actual banana republics run their countries.
Right. And so he's been berating the current FBI director for not going into a prosecutorial role against Hillary Clinton for not just emails, but for all these other alleged conspiracies with their foundations, etc.
No, yeah, okay. Now here's what it was, and I'm quoting the Times article. Trump, who has attacked the pair ceaselessly in campaign rallies and interviews, told now former White House counsel Don McGahan that he wanted the nation's top law enforcement agency to invest several unfounded accusations, including claims that Comey shared classified information with the Times and that Clinton played a role in the approval of a uranium mining company sale to Russia.
Right, the uranium deal again.
Right.
Oh, God.
It wasn't just the emails. It was the major thing here is that uranium mining deal, which I'm surprised he would criticize, because Russia are his best friends.
Oh, no, you have to understand that the uranium deal has been run up the flagpole of the right-wing echo chamber from the time of the 2016 election campaign. It surfaced then. And the right-wing echo chamber was saying uranium, what's it called, uranium one, I think that was the catchphrase or whatever. And it was always, there's a shady deal going on there and you need to investigate that, you need to investigate that, you need to investigate that.
So they weren't, certain people weren't getting any money from it, I guess.
Hey,
it wasn't benefiting them, so let's not let it go through. I got it.
All right, okay. So the interesting thing is those two stories gets to the heart of where the moral rot and the denigration of the rule of law that this country has supposedly been trying to espouse for 400 years. And I say supposedly because we've had our ups and downs, and I tell our viewers all the time that for me, having to defend the FBI on any number of occasions is a two-edged sword as far as I'm concerned, because we have all kinds of evidence of the FBI doing all kinds of nefarious things to black activists, especially the latest initiative that we reported on about 6 months ago, the what was that, the BIEs? Black identity extremists, remember that?
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Well, guess what? That just surfaced 3-5 months ago, where a new nomenclature and a new division was launched by the FBI to supposedly look into, quote, black identity extremists. So we watch the FBI like hawks here, folk. we do not just say the FBI walk on water, because we know they got feet of clay. I mean, I don't even want to say feet of clay. Yeah. They got feet of mud. but
believe me, you can make a pretty large museum out of what they have just on Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and their collusion with the Chicago people on the assassination of Fred Hampton.
Oh,
okay.
Please,
so and those are just too high profile.
Get me started on the Fred Hampton murder.
But the FBI actually sometimes do good work in the interest of the country.
Absolutely.
So when this guy wants to denigrate the Justice Department, the Attorney General, and do what he can to undermine the rule of law, it's a two-edged sword for us as journalists who watch this thing, but we try to call it like we see it, and sometimes when they do good work, we acknowledge them doing good work, and when people try to denigrate their good work and try to undermine that in their own self-interest, and my gut feeling is, and there's enough evidence pointing towards it, he wants to undermine the rule of law and these establishments, institutions, because he is guilty of all kinds of things that will come out when the Mueller probe reaches its stuff. So if he can undermine these rules and these institutions, he thinks he might be able to skate when the hammer, the sword of Damocles? When the sword of Damocles drops on his head and crushes that neck, whatever's going to happen. I'm graphically describing what I expect to happen. It may not happen as soon as we would like it to.
That reasoning is part of it, but then you have to look at the other psychological aspect of the 3-year-old child wanting revenge when things don't go his way, or when people, criticize him or whatever. And that's what it is. He can't stand being criticized.
No. But he freely dispenses criticism.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he'll criticize anybody that he doesn't agree with. Anybody that's criticizing him is an enemy. And he says that the press never says anything good about him. Well, there might be a reason for that.
But one thing I want to say, I've complained in the past that journalists didn't stick up for each other. And it's thanks to Trump's constant pressure on the press, some members of the press are actually developing backbones. I mean, when CNN's Jim Acosta's hard press credential for the White House was pulled, NABJ, NAHJ, the Society of Professional Journalists, the Native American Journalists Association, they all, just stuck together because you could see.
It's about time.
Yeah.
Hey, the White House press corps actually pushed back, and the association
at the time.
Yes.
And pretty much supported the CNN suit. And CNN did file a suit, folks. We'll update you on that. They filed a suit against the White House for yanking Jim Acosta's press credentials. And the judge said, you can't do that.
And he has them back now. They returned.
And Trump has already said he's going to pull it again as soon as that order lifts, which,
the nature of the beast is, I saw a headline, didn't get a chance to read the story, White House issues new rules for White House press corps.
Yes.
Hey, that's going to be a fallout from this Acosta lawsuit and the whole bit. Whatever the new rules are, the bottom line is.
Well, you can only ask him questions.
I don't even care. But I don't know how much time we have left. Probably about 6 minutes or so.
We have about 4.5 minutes left.
4.5. Well, the follow-up, real quick, another headline to buttonhole the previous story. This is a Huffington Post opinion piece. Great headline. Donald Trump is an accessory to Jamal Khashoggi's murder. That puts it right in context for saying, it's okay for you to kill this guy. We don't care. Calling him an accessory, I don't think that's over the top. Now, in the last couple of minutes that we have, the fallout from the midterm elections, good plus sign is the Republicans don't control both houses of Congress anymore. The Democrats now control the House. And so that's going to be a positive to put some kind of brakes on this current White House occupant trying to be an autocrat. But now the Democrats are trying to shoot themselves in the foot, as usual, because they decided okay, we're gonna get rid of our
Nancy
Nancy
Pelosi,
Pelosi
yeah.
fight.
Yeah,
so,
that's-
what do you guys think about this? I mean, by next Monday, it might have all blown over, but I
hope
don't
it
think
does.
so. This is a story of where the Democrats have a chance to actually get their act together. What's your take on the Pelosi fight?
No, I mean, that's my initial thought was, are we going to implode right away? I mean, that's what, the relief that I had the day after the election that at least we had one house.
One house, right?
And I went to sleep thinking that it wasn't going to happen at all. But I woke up with some relief. But then the Pelosi stuff exploded,
Yeah.
and we have how many Democrats signed that petition against her?
Supposedly
Like,
16, but
It was
I
a
don't
dozen
think,
when I saw
I don't
it.
think. I don't think they got to 16. Supposedly it was supposed to be 16. Maybe it was 16.
Okay,
But
I might be wrong.
yeah, no. You could be exactly
Yeah,
right
you
because
could
I
be
saw
right. I
16. It might have
recall.
turned out to be 12.
Okay.
So because I think a couple of people that they thought were going to sign didn't
Did not.
sign.
Okay.
Like what's the young lady from New York?
Hillary-
Cortez.
Oh yeah.
Her thing was I saw that letter and I couldn't understand. There was no platform, there was no reasoning, there wasn't any. This is why we need to change,
It was just
and we're going to change because this is what we want to accomplish. It was just let's change for the sake of change. He said, "I'm not quite sure I can ride along with that, but that's not to say that there isn't a need for some stuff."
Yeah, sure.
And I saw an earlier headline, and we're almost out of time, where
Yeah, 2
Nancy
minutes.
Pelosi supposedly cut a deal with the black female representative from, I think it was Ohio. What's her name? Drudge or Budge, or let me see if I can call her up. The young lady who might have run. Nancy Pelosi cuts deal with potential challenger Marsha Fudge.
Fudge. Okay.
Yeah.
Not Dudge, Fudge. Earning support for House Speaker bid. So Fudge sat down with her, because Fudge was going to be one of the 16 signers, and said, look, we need to do some stuff. My take on this, folks, this is from years of covering politics, years of being a journalist, is you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Right.
And you're in control of the House. Set up a nice succession plan. You got 2 years to make this happen. Get your act together. Let Nancy help you shepherd your stuff. Get your ducks in a row, and then work with her for her to help you pick a successor from your new young ranks. Because there's like a 50-year difference between a 76-year-old Pelosi and a 29-year-old
29,
Ocasio-Cortez. There's room for compromise. They need to get their act together. So what else we want to tag before we go? Because I think we're out of time. Right?
We have about 50 seconds, but no, like you said, it is time for a little bit of a compromise, and don't blow things up.
Right.
Just
They've got 2 years to work that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. These are all basic analysis, postmortems, and prognostications.
Yes.
So
30 seconds.
this has been Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson, and I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. And please remember those who could not be with you.
By the time you're seeing this, Thanksgiving will have come and gone, but I hope it was quite enjoyable for you. And catch us on YouTube, Bob.
And Media Watch EVT.
Media Watch EVT on both YouTube
And Twitter.
Twitter.